Okay, I heard a kind of an interesting thing. Well, yesterday I heard this. But they were talking that they would really like to try to control traffic between states. You know, to check you at the border to see if you are vaccinated. Or just, they want to know who is traveling. Now, I'd be interested to see how they do this. You know, technically, interstate highways are federal. They were built as national defense highways. It's something they picked up after World War II from the German Autobahns, and they decided, okay, we need to be able to move troops and supplies from one side of the country to another in a hurry. And rail is not dependable. You can bomb a rail line or sabotage a rail line. Highway's a little harder. So they built this interstate highway system. Now it's patrolled by the states, but it's really under the jurisdiction of the federal government. Now, if they want to start checking your papers at the border, I'd be curious if they're going to try to get your highway patrol, your state highway patrol, to do this. You'll actually set up checkpoints on the interstate, or if they're going to actually bring in a whole nother organization to do it, which I think they would almost have to do because, well, I don't even know if that would fly. I mean, like say, I'm in North Dakota. Between North Dakota and South Dakota, we do have interstate highways, but I don't think you could get either state to actually have patrolmen sitting there checking people's papers. Now, we have highways that go into Minnesota, and I can see where Minnesota might do this, because Minnesota is a socialist state. So that could happen. I don't think people would like this. Well, I think what would end up happening is you'd end up with these, you know, some states that would check papers and some that wouldn't. You'd have free states and you'd have states that were under federal jurisdiction. We've kind of seen this thing before, but I think there would be lines, and I can kind of picture where these lines would actually kind of run. But I think that's the start of something that's not going to go over very well. But you know, they want to have you showing papers to get on public transportation, to get into a lot of buildings, even sporting events and stuff. I mean, different areas have got different regulations. We've got nothing going on here. But, you know, here you would never even know it. Though once in a while you run into somebody in town that is wearing a mask, but it's a rarity. Well, and even before this, I mean, you would run into people, and there's people who got allergies and stuff that were wearing masks anyway, so it's not a big thing. But I think the virus is pretty much out of people's minds. They just tired of that monkeying around and got back to living their normal lives. But the government isn't really happy with that. They would really like to be able to shut us down again. You know, shut everybody down. In part because they get real nervous about a revolution. They have really jacked up the surveillance, and they're constantly putting out cautions about these. Well, they're kind of mixing up now. It's white supremacists and anti-vaxxers, and you know, they make it sound like it's all these Trump people, but it really You know, a lot of people are just plain fed up with the nonsense that goes on. In part, they do it with the border now. But with the vaccine stuff, I mean, there's a wide cross section of people that want nothing to do with this vaccine. You know, so I think they're real nervous, and if they could actually keep people from crossing borders, they would feel a lot more comfortable. Or at least know where everybody is at all times. Well, they kind of do that now. I got a horse walking by. And what usually means I leave a trail of flies. You know, I'm curious to see now, you know, Biden has been so stressed out, though he doesn't do anything, it's really not him, that he had to go on vacation. And I sometimes wonder, maybe this will be the end of him, probably depending on what happens in Afghanistan here. Because now would be a good time they could ditch him, use him as kind of a scapegoat, though he has got nothing really to do with this. This is being controlled by other people. In fact, it's the same people from back in the Benghazi days. Same crew. So we have a disaster developing there. And when this goes bad, which it probably will, I think they're going to pile the blame on Biden. So, like I say, he doesn't know. He's got no control over this stuff. That's beyond him. But it would give him an excuse to get rid of him, to get public pressure. But this is going to be a kind of a nightmare because they've got, the Canadians, I think they sent like 600 troops. We spent like 5,000. Canadians are going to take, I think, 20,000 refugees was the plan. I haven't heard a number for us, but I can guarantee it's like 100,000. That's a hell of a pile of people that we're going to have to take out of there, and their whole families and extended family. I don't know, I think you got 2 or 3 days to get this done. I don't think they can do it. So I think we're going to end up with a hell of a mess at the airport. Particularly now that, because the Taliban's coming fast. I mean, they've got all of our old equipment that we brought over there, all them Humvees, they've got helicopters, they've got airplanes. How in the world are you going to fly airliners in and out of there in any degree of safety? In fact, they said they've really got if the airport is damaged in any way, they have no equipment to fix it. So they drop a few bombs on the runway, that kind of puts an end to that whole operation. So Biden is trying everything, or the administration, let's say, to kind of bribe them to hold off a little, even holding out the carrot that maybe we'll give you a little foreign aid down the road, which is crazy. We've been giving them foreign aid for a long time. I mean, way back when they were fighting the Russians, when we were using them to fight the Russians. But I think they've got a taste of blood and they're going for the kill. And I don't think we can stop them. But they better be pulling them people out of there awful fast if they're going to save them, because this ain't going to fly. But he still say, oh no, it could turn around. No, it can't turn around. It's like an avalanche coming. There ain't nothing going to stop this. So we're going to end up with a pile of them here. And I suppose eventually they'll be running our government too. one of them's bound to run for office. It's just got to be. We ain't happy unless we got that. But I don't know how you can handle, let's say, 100,000 at a minimum. I don't know how you can get them out of there, but if you get them out of here and get them here, what are we going to do with them? We already got all of those hundreds of thousands coming across the border. What are we going to do with them? It's funny because them people, they bring them in, just turn them loose. And here they want to restrict us from going from state to state. They don't check papers at the border, they want to check papers here. It is a peculiar world we're living in. But I don't see any of this ending well. You know, you almost think there should be some plan here. But I can see no possible end game to this. They're just throwing this out and throwing that out, you know, pulling troops out of Afghanistan, putting troops back into Afghanistan. It's just a random, I think, maybe it's a case of having, you know, because like I say, it's the same crew, but it might be a case of having too many cooks at the same time in the kitchen there, and they all come up with their own ideas. I mean, that's what happens on all this domestic policy, even. They're going all these different directions at the same time. It's too much influence from all these various people. So there's no cohesive plan here. It's just random events happening, and that's all going bad. And I think this Afghanistan thing is going to go really bad, too. And who's to say, you know, the people, even the people that we're trying to get out of there, when they get here, they could become a huge problem for us. A lot of them were a huge problem there. It was not uncommon for people in the military that were in theory our allies to open fire on their fellow soldiers or on our troops. You know, very unpredictable. In fact, now a lot of them, as this has been going on, have been switching sides. That's why now they've got all this aircraft that they can fly, because the people who flew before under our supervision are now flying them under their supervision. That's a mess. But it's always been a mess there. And when you see something like that, you just don't get involved in it. But we had to get involved in it. But in the end, if we get out of there, well, we'll get out of there. Some of them will get out of there. But it's going to end up just like what happened in Libya, where it's nothing but the whole country controlled by a bunch of warlords. You know, we just made such a mess of that place. But people are going to suffer. But I think, you know, they're actually thinking, oh, maybe if we had like 30 days to get them out. I think you got like 3 days to get them out. I don't think you're going to make it. But they can hope.